So we've talked about costs, we've talked about integrity, we've talked about innovation, and probably the last thing I want to talk about is impetus. And I think at a time of crisis, people want their leaders to be calm, they want their leaders to be in control, and they want their leaders to be telling them what to do. But I think also there is something about driving impetus, being persistent, driving the actual business along, because I think you have to work harder at times like this than what you do in normal times. And I think impetus in the business is really important, and that's down to the leadership to drive it. And I think performance management is ever important, but it's even more important now. And it's about making sure that we're actually driving the whole performance of the business in a really strong way. And I was on a train the other day, and I often sort of observe people and watch people. And these particular people I couldn't not observe. And I was about to get off in Leeds, which is where I live. And I tend to get up early because we've been down for a long time. I just tend to get up and wait for the train to finish. So I got up about 10 minutes before we were due to pull into Leeds, and I walked into the end of the carriage. And there were a couple of guys, I'll not tell you which particular rail company this was, because that would probably be unfair. But these two guys were part of the catering crew on this train, and the catering crew was due to change at Leeds. And the carriage I was in had the buffet bar in it. And these two guys were having a rant. That's all I could describe it as. And their first rant went on for about 3 minutes, and they had a good old rant about the HR department, which I was fascinated with. And they were clearly wanting to make progression from being catering crew into being guards on the train because it paid more money. And they talked about the selection process and how crap it was. They talked about the guy who they hated, and how he was, unfair, and he was not running it in the right way, and he was inefficient, and we know about his private life. But it went on for a long time. And they were very kind of verbal, and lots of people at this time were getting up to get off the train. So lots of people were listening to this. So what a great advert for this company. Then they went on to talk about the catering operation on the train. And they talked about the fact that the supplier wasn't very good, and certain things were missing, and it wasn't very good, and so on. So that was rant number 2. So they criticised the HR system and promotion. They then criticised the supply and the kind of product. I thought, this is really cracking stuff. Then they went on to talk about the fact they'd had a number of 4:30 starts, and they'd had more than their fair share. So we had a good rant about rotas and methods of working, and then they went into a fourth rant, which was about something else to do with the way the company was being run. So here am I, the customer, stood there, listening to 4 rants during a 10-minute period about how crap this company was. And I thought to myself, we're in the middle of a recession here, and these people are employed, they should be providing a service, and look what they're saying to the customer. I thought, I wonder who's leading this business, what they're telling them, what they're saying to them about what's going on, how much communication is coming down the line, how much listening to people is taking place. Because as a customer, I felt that business is in a bad, bad way. And then when the train stopped, they rushed off before any of the customers could rush off, many of whom were dashing for connected trains. So it was a very bad experience. And I think, my impression of the impetus in that business was it was extraordinarily poor. And I think one of the things we should all be thinking about is, during recessive times, what are our people saying to our customers? What are we saying to our people? How much listening to our people are we doing? And what are we actually thinking that we're actually driving as a leadership team at these times? Because if we're not putting the right words out there, there are still words that are passing between customers. And I was at a conference yesterday, and I thought it kind of summarised what I wanted to say as a sort of conclusion to you about how important it is to communicate with people, to get on the right agenda in times of recession. And I thought I'd just read it out to you, because I thought the words were bang on with what I wanted to say today, and bang on appropriate for what we all should be thinking about at times when the economy is in difficulty. And the words were, be seen by your people and your customers more, say thank you more, communicate, the point I was just talking about, and listen to what people are thinking and saying about you. Keep close to the front line, think about those 2 guys in the train, so that you know what's going on. Be practical to raise the energy of your people, and keep your head up. I think it's really important that we have that kind of positive feel. Get views from outside your business, and look for opportunity in adversity. Because I firmly believe that in adversity there are winners and there are losers. And at the end of every recession, that I've seen in my lifetime, strong companies get stronger and the weak go to the wall. So I think as we all think about what's happening in the economy and we think about our own businesses, think about our costs, think about our integrity as individuals, and are we challenging the business to do the right thing? Think about how we might be able to innovate and get our business doing things that might not have been considered in normal times, and think about the amount of impetus that we're driving in our business for the future. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. David, thanks very much indeed. As always, thought-provoking and very interesting.